everyone and welcome to episode 32 of FMOE here on Shaun Does FM, currently with Linfield. No diary intro today, and that is because I don't really know what is going to happen. In today's episode, we could get through the transfer window before we do play the first qualifying round in the Champions Path of the Champions League here at Linfield, or we could move clubs. So if you're looking forward to this one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, also hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell on as well, all that good YouTube algorithm stuff. What I will say is about 63% of you guys who watch these videos who have not hit that subscribe button yet. Please do so, it's free. It'll be a nice Christmas present for me. It helps me out, costs you guys nothing, so it is much appreciated if you guys would hit that subscribe button. But as I said, not really sure what's actually going to happen in today's episode as we do set things up, hopefully, for Season 4 of this save. If you missed the end of Season 3 in yesterday's episode, the end of our first one here at Linfield, I'll leave a link to that one over in the top right corner. But we're coming back at the 17th of June, about 3 weeks prior to our first leg of the first qualifying round of the Champions League here at Linfield. Don't know our opponent for that matchup yet, and that is because we have been offered a job interview. So first things first, a bit of a quick update on our profile off the back of yesterday's episode. From there, a few end of season awards were given out once the Northern Irish season did actually finish. And as you can see, we picked up the manager of the season, and also our reputation has taken quite a big boost. Yesterday, when we checked in on this, it was only 2 stars. Today, it is 3 stars. And as you can see, we are wanted by a club, and that club is Preston North End. So obviously, this is a job which has been filled recently on another YouTube series by some guy, pretty small YouTube channel. I think he goes and buys houses for some reason instead of renting them. But we have been offered a job interview by Preston North End. It is in England, so it would be a move over to the biggest nation that we can go to in this year's version of FMOE. It's a club with a slightly higher reputation than ours as well, but they are down in League One in this universe, of course, being originally a team in the Championship, albeit when we go and have a look at the season preview for this past season of League One, they were a team that were expected to finish quite high up the table in 6th spot as expected off the back of being relegated from the Championship. So it would actually be probably a quite nice job first up to get over in England, a team who should compete quite well in League One, and it could give us a chance to get up into the Championship fairly quickly. But it certainly looks like a slight step up from where we are at the moment in Linfield, with that one slight thing that is hanging over our heads there in terms of European qualifying. But apart from that, would not mind a move at this point of the save, seeing as we have pretty much completed everything that there is to do over in Northern Ireland in terms of picking up domestic trophies. So what we are going to do is attend this job interview and see how things go to start off today's episode. And we'll get things underway. The board are pleased that we have made the trip up to the north of England. So first off, ease their concerns that we have never previously managed in this country. I think we'll say it doesn't really matter too much because of what we have done so far in Northern Ireland. Next up, our managerial experience lacks variety in their opinion. That's interesting because Banbridge Town and Linfield, two quite different teams, even though both of those jobs were in Northern Ireland. But can we tell them why we've only worked with a small selection of teams? I think what we might answer here is that we've not really had the chance to manage more than a couple of teams because we are still in the early days of our managerial career. I think that's a pretty fair answer, considering we've only had 3 full seasons in charge of a club. Next up, they want to know why we might be taking a risk in leaving a job which is considered safe and making the move over to Preston, which apparently is a bigger challenge. What is the thought process behind this decision? I think we're going to go here for the one which is blocked by my head, so we'll just hide my head for this brief moment. I'm keen to make my way up the managerial ladder, and this is a good opportunity to do just that, even though they were the guys who asked us to this job interview. The next question in this one from Preston is that their previous manager did not enjoy a good relationship with the supporters. Are you confident of providing a different dynamic? I've had a very good relationship so far in this save with the supporters. They've been pretty happy with the work that we have done both at Banbridge Town and at Linfield so far, so we'll tell them we're pretty confident in that. How would we feel about working with their director of football in Jez George? He looks like a decent director of football. I think we'll tell him we'll be happy to work with him and we can always shift him on once his contract does expire. We understand the importance of having the right backroom staff. So how much of a budget would we need to make changes? I think we just want a decent or small budget for this one. We probably won't bring too many of our staff with us from Linfield because it is a bit of a step up, but also I think we might be able to improve things in terms of some staff who are already at other English clubs and on the free agent market. So we'll tell them we only need a small budget for that. Now here is the club's vision for the next couple of seasons. They want us to strive to make progress on and off the field. It looks like as well they want to get back up to the championship in fairly short order as well, and in terms of this upcoming season, work towards gaining promotion to the EFL Championship. I think that's a pretty fair vision for a club like Preston North End, who are not that far from having been up in that division in the Save universe, so I'm quite happy to work with these proposals. We haven't ticked over into the new season yet, so they don't have any expectations and budgets for the upcoming season, so there's not really much options there for us. We have to say that we would understand that. Are there any requests we would like them to consider should we take this job? We want a coaching course to develop because Linfield have not supported that at all. Otherwise, I think we'd be quite happy to stay there and see out the remainder of our contract. But that was the job interview there at Preston. I think it went fairly well, and we'll see how things go off the back of that, and we'll come back hopefully shortly with an update on that one. And we've gone forward only a few hours off the back of that job interview with Preston North End. As you can see, there's a few news articles starting to pop up about that one now, but we go up a bit further, and just in case we do not get that job, we have the draw for the first qualifying round and the second qualifying round of the Champions League. So it's time for me briefly to shut my mouth and listen to the glorious Champions League music as we do take part in this one. So good this year. Okay, I think we can get through this now because we got through the best bit. And now it's time for us to take part in this first qualifying round draw for the Champions League. We are an unseeded team. Going to be interesting to see exactly who we do get in this one. And I may have stuffed that up a little bit. I clicked advance to my team. It already went past my team. So because of that, I don't actually know who we did get in that draw. But it is a bit of a blast from the past for us here. We are taking on Breidablik from Iceland. That is a team I am very familiar with off the back of us doing a Builder Nation over in Iceland on last year's game. So that will be an interesting matchup there as we take on one of the bigger teams in real life out of Iceland. Obviously, that was not really the case for a long stretch of that save last year, but that is an interesting matchup in the first qualifying round for us of the Champions path of the Champions League. We are going to be taking on Breidablik out of Iceland. And we've gone forward a week off the back of that Champions League draw and that job interview with Preston North End of League One in England, and that is not a good sign really. Unfortunately, we were unsuccessful in that job interview. Whether we would have taken that job is a completely different story, but unfortunately we were not the preferred person to take charge of the club. Instead they went for Russell Martin out of Scotland. He was formerly of Swansea, has spent 2 years unemployed, is getting paid a rather hefty wage there of £7,000 a week. That would have been something which might have been a little bit too good to turn down, but in the end he gets that job even though he only has a 2-star reputation. But of course he does have his Continental Pro license. Maybe that's something which is starting to hold us back a little bit now in this save, so hopefully we can start to get on top of that when we do move from Linfield, because at the moment they don't seem very keen to let us take up a coaching course. But off the back of that, I think that probably means we are going to stay at Linfield at least for the early stages of season 4. So off the back of not getting that job, we'll go forward a little bit further, update you guys on what we've done transfer-wise, and we might also play the first qualifying round in that Champions path of the Champions League against Breidablik from Iceland. So we've gone forward a little bit further and are about to take part in our first game of Season 4 here at Linfield, at least for the start of it anyway. If we get knocked out of Europe, it might be a time for us to maybe make a move mid-season, because I dare say most of the season here at Linfield, if we do stay here on the channel, is going to be based quite heavily around European football, seeing as we have focused quite a bit on the rest of Northern Ireland so far in this FMOE series. But we're about to take on Breidablik. But before then, we need to update you guys a little bit on what we have done transfer-wise around that time, where we thought we might be considering leaving for Preston North End. And we haven't actually done a heck of a lot. Only 2 players have left us on free transfers, and we've brought 3 players in for nothing as well. So the players that we did get rid of, who are players who were down in our reserve team, Ethan Devine, he was a striker. He has gone to divisional rivals and club rivals in Cliftonville, albeit don't think he's anyone we need to worry about too much. And also Michael Newbury, he has gone to Iceland, but not to Breidablik, to one of the more successful teams from our Builder Nation save in last year's Football Manager, and that is HK. He was a centre-back come right back who in the end just didn't really have the potential or current ability that we needed of a 27-year-old here at Linfield. So we let both of those guys go and got them off of our wage bill, and we have improved our defence, especially with the transfers that we have made so far leading into this first qualifying round of the Champions League. The first signing that we have made was from Manchester City. That is a centre-back. That is largely thanks to the fact that Jimmy Callagher did retire at the end of last season, so the replacement for him to be backups to Loke and O'Connor alongside Mazida Gumbo is Jadel Katongo. He is a 20-year-old out of Zambia, formerly of Manchester City for the first couple of years of his career. 2.5-star current ability and that 5-star potential with 4 stars of it gold. He looks like a quite useful option for us, especially seeing as he doesn't need to be registered for domestic competitions under the age of 21. So we've got him to join the club on a free transfer. Alongside that, we've added a bit more quality and depth at right back, because I would like to get rid of some players like Connor Pepper and Matty Lund if we can. And the player that we have signed to add that depth at right back is Daniel Oyegoki. He is formerly of Brentford and also spent some spells out on loan at quite a few clubs in England. 3.5-star current ability and 4.5-star potential. Does look quite good, quite a bit higher ranked than our other options at right back. But in terms of his actual attributes, isn't actually quite as good as our current first choice in Cammy Logan. So we'll see if that changes over the course of this season. But at the very least, he is a great backup option in that position as well. And as I said, probably a bit stronger of a backup than what we did have previously. Some players who were getting on in age in both Connor Pepper and Matty Lund. And the other player that we have signed is on a free from Treaty United, albeit a player who was signed by our under-18 manager, and that is Dara Gorman. Not a great deal of potential, so don't really need to update you guys on that one too much. We've made 2 first-team signings and got rid of 2 players from the reserves going into this new season. What that does mean for our squad in terms of our first choice 11 is there is very little change actually to this team from what it did look like come the end of last season. The only change in terms of when everyone is fit and available is that we have put Ross McCausland as the attacking centre midfielder instead of Jordan Stewart, being of a younger age and also higher current ability and potential. Also performed quite well for us for good chunks of last season once he did come to us from Rangers on a free transfer, and quite a useful player to get integrated into the club as well, being homegrown here from before he did go to Rangers. Ross McCausland makes his way into the first team, but apart from that, it's exactly the same in terms of the starting 11 as last season. You will see Charlie Sayers there at left back. That is because Niall Quinn is currently out with an injury, as is Connor Pepper. Niall Quinn would usually be starting at left back over Charlie Sayers. So we've got pretty much all the combinations that we did have from last season, apart from that link up between Stewart and McDade up front. Hopefully McCausland can build one up soon with McDade, and of course McKee is still a very, very good backup option. In terms of some other players who might be a little bit new to you guys for this upcoming season here at Linfield, a few players who we did have out on loan last season have made their way to the club, and we're going to give them a shot on the bench this season. Both our backup midfielders are kind of new to the club after we did sign them last season. First up, we have Bobby Jack McAleese. He's not really a defensive midfielder usually, so we're going to have to train him up to play that position, but with 3 stars current ability and 5-star potential at 20 years old, definitely a player I want to get involved in our squad here this season. And also, the man formerly of Banbridge Town, who we got through one of our youth intakes when we were in charge at the club. Sean Quinn has arrived here at Linfield at 16 years old with that good potential. We'll give him some game time off of the bench and also probably in the reserves and under 18s as well. So those two will be the backups to both Shields and Palmer. In the midfield, and the other change that we have made, apart from those transfers that we did bring in that we showed you guys before, is we have brought up a player from our under 18/reserves, and that is Stephen Trainer, a right winger at 17 years old, who does look very, very promising already. 3.5-star current ability and 5-star potential. He will be the backup to Stephen Fallon this season and is a very, very good option in that position as well. So he makes his way up to the first team and onto the bench. But apart from that, quite a few of the players you will be familiar with from last season. I think this season Jake Kane will be more of a backup left winger instead of a defensive midfielder. Hopefully he doesn't get the red miss quite as much in that position. And also down, not quite on the bench, we have 2 quite promising goalkeepers in Brian Okonwo and Kieran Gray, who will probably step in and get a little bit of game time as backups once David Walsh does leave come the end of this year. He does not want to sign a new contract here. We've tried to offer him out to some other clubs, but no one has put a bid in for him so far, so I think we're going to hang on to him for the rest of this year, and then those 2 youngsters can step up to replace him as our backup goalkeeping options here in behind Chris Johns at Linfield. But overall, very, very similar team to what we did have here for most of the domestic season for our first season at Linfield, albeit a little bit different to the team that we did put out for those first couple of games last season in Conference League qualifying once we did take over here, and also of course a new system from when we did last play in Europe. So hopefully this gets the job done for us in European qualifying. We take on a team, as I said, I am quite familiar with in Breidablik, one of the stronger teams over in Iceland. 2.5-star reputation and quite good training youth and youth recruitment facilities as well. So definitely a team who will probably be the favourites to beat us here in this first qualifying round. But you never know, hopefully we can get the job done over these guys like we did so many times with Volswinger on Husavik Heroes last year. It'll be interesting to see how we do get on here against them and their 4-4-2, and we'll come back shortly and hopefully go a little bit deep in Champions League qualifying this season as we take on Breidablik over in Iceland in the first leg of the first round of Champions League qualifying. And of course, we are going to get the Champions League music when we do the walkout for this game, so we'll just get through this pre-match interview and it will be time for me to shut my mouth yet again, because we'll give you guys a bit of a taste of this just because it is our first game in the Champions League here at Linfield. And here we go. Lovely graphics, isn't it? Right. Shaun. Don't think I spotted anyone from Husavik Heroes in that Breidablik team. So I think we might be okay here. Right. Hopefully we can pick up a good result here away from home in the Champions League, our first time in the Champions League in FMOE this season. And 4 minutes into this, we have our first highlight as a free kick here in our favour. As you would have seen before, we are in the red and the black. Breidablik in their traditional green with the white shorts, and Cooper here makes his way inside the final third. It's a great start for us here. And our one change to our starting 11 going in to this season, Ross McCausland picks up a goal, does a bit of a river dance, I think that was, which is more Irish, I think, than Northern Irish, albeit could be wrong there, being in the wrong part of the world, but he thumps that ball into the roof off the net off that pass from Cooper and gives us an early 1-0 lead. And only a few minutes off the back of that opening goal, we are now down the other end here for a corner to Breidablik. They float this one into the mixer. Thankfully, Noel Logue does head that one away, but they are still on the attack. Perez here with a shot. Paul Velt's on there on the rebound. We have to scramble that one away, but just do enough to keep it at 1-0 Linfield. And just shy of the 20-minute mark, our next highlight here is a goal kick to Breidablik. They pump this one deep, but thankfully Pelty O'Connor does win that ball in the air. Does the former Lincoln City man getting ready for his second season here at Linfield. And now Kemi Logan makes his way down the right wing, puts the ball in here for Robbie McDade, gets his big old head on the end of that one, puts it top left corner, and it's looking like we might have a decent campaign here in Champions League qualifying with this 4-2-3-1. Logan, some good work there, floats this inside the box. Somehow McDade wins that header and pinpoints that top left corner, and we're 2-0 up after 20 minutes of the first leg. And with about 10 minutes to go in this first half, the next highlight does happen in this one. Yet again, we are on the attack. It's actually been quite an even game in terms of stats, but we've looked quite good so far, albeit we did give the ball away there, and Breidablik now might have a chance on the counter-attack. Really good chance this one for Sigurdarsson, and he puts that one away, top left corner, and maybe off the back of a good start, Breidablik are now going to find their way into this game. As I said before, it's been quite even, and they do to us what we probably look to do to most teams in European football with this counter-attacking system. We will go back to balanced off the back of that goal, because with a 2-0 lead, we probably should have done that anyway, but now it is 2-1 with a few minutes left in this first half of the first leg. And very deep into injury time in this first half, there is one more highlight here I've thrown inside the final third. We lump this one forward to Robbie McDade. He just gets that one past the defender and the goalkeeper for Breidablik, and that gives us our cushion back right before half-time. That is a great time for us to score, and means we do take a 2-goal lead into the sheds, and hopefully playing now on a balanced mentality. That does mean we are going to be a little bit more solid defensively. Not the greatest work there from the Breidablik goalkeeper, but we don't mind. Robbie McDade picked up his second goal of the game. He is onside by a good stride or so there. Puts that one away, and that will give us a 3-1 lead at half-time, which is a little bit surprising. As you can see, we've only slightly hit the edge in this one so far, but do take quite a handsome lead into the shed. So hopefully we can build on that in the second half, and hopefully make sure that the second leg does not have too much riding on it. But very happy so far with this first performance of Season 2 here at Linfield. 3-1 up over Breidablik at half-time in the first leg of the first round of Champions League qualifying. And nearly 10 minutes into the second half, we are going to make our first substitution here. Pelty O'Connor has just picked up a yellow card. Of course, these days, you have two quite promising centre-backs on the bench, but I think Mazida Gumbo is best suited to come on for him with our first substitution and a 3-1 lead. And just past the hour mark, we have our first proper highlight here of the second half. Breidablik with a chance to play out from the back, albeit give that ball away, and Cooper will find McCausland here just outside the box, and he rockets that one into the bottom right corner. He is doing a very good job stepping in for Stewart in that cam roll, and now we have a very handsome 3-goal lead here in the first leg of the first round of Champions League qualifying. Good work there from Cooper, and McCausland still had a lot of work to do and puts that one away. Not quite in the corner, but it still beats the goalkeeper, and we are now 4-1 up. And we're just about to enter the last 10 minutes of this one, still with quite a handsome 4-1 lead, which hopefully would mean the second leg does not have too much riding on it, but a few players have gone down to red hearts, both our wingers. So what we're going to do is bring on Jake Kane at left wing and the youngster Stephen Trainer at right wing, and hopefully hold on to this 3-goal buffer. And only a few minutes off the back of those substitutions, we now go down the Breidablik end here for a corner. We head that away somewhat, but they are still on the attack. That is shocking though from Johns in goal, and it gives Breidablik a simple tap in there for Gislason. This is going to be an absolutely terrible camera angle to try and show you guys this from, but Perry is there off the back of the clearance, puts that one into the mixer, and Johns just misses the ball when he goes for it down low, and Breidablik do grab a goal back now, so they are back in this tie, albeit with the second leg being back in Northern Ireland at Windsor Park. You would like to think we'd still have enough about us there to make sure we can hold on to a 2-goal buffer, albeit we are back on the attack here, and McCausland looks to complete his hat-trick, but unfortunately that comes off the post, and we are still up by 4-2, and I think it is time for us to just check and make sure if anyone else does need to come off here. We do have a few players down to red hearts, so we might play things safe here and take off those players in defence to try and make sure we hold on to this 2-goal buffer. Kantongo can come on for Logan. Also, we'll give Oyegoki some game time for Kemi Logan and hopefully hold on to our 2-goal buffer in these last 10 or so minutes. And just entering the last 5 minutes of this one, Breidablik with a throw from a very similar position to which we ended up scoring from in that first highlight of the second half. Hopefully, we hold on here and make sure we do take a 2-goal advantage. Back to Iceland, a little bit poor there from our new right back, but thankfully recovers quite well. And now he clears that the second time of asking out to Shields. And McCausland starts to cut infield, gets a big old yank there, but we are still on the attack. And Kane, good square that for McDade. That would have surely sealed this result, but unfortunately that was a good save there from the Breidablik goalkeeper. We'll see if anything else does come from this highlight, as there's only a few minutes left now in this one. Nothing happens. As you can see, during the second half, we have actually started to get on top of Breidablik in this one, but in the end, that's a pretty good result away from home against the team with a higher reputation than us. We pick up a 4-2 win away from home in the first leg of the first round of Champions League qualifying, and I think that should set us up nicely going into the second leg. So what I'm going to do is play that second leg off camera, show you guys the highlights, and hopefully we'll make our way through to that second qualifying round off the back of a 4-2 win in the first leg. And here are the highlights from the second leg. As you can see up top, lots of yellow cards in this one, but most of them did happen off the back of this opening goal. Only 3 minutes into this one, Robbie McDade with yet another header, bit of help from the underside of the crossbar, but that did mean we were then up by a scoreline of 5-2 on aggregate, albeit around the hour mark. Breidablik did just give us a little bit of a scare putting that one in the back of the net through Stein Dawson, but thankfully we held on defensively off the back of that. And then with some substitutions, Kemi Palmer with an early candidate for the goal of the season there on the volley off of the deflection, puts that one in the back of the net, and that makes sure we pick up back-to-back wins over Breidablik, 2-1 in the second leg and 6-3 overall. So we definitely make our way through to the second qualifying round of the Champions League, and I think one more win does mean that we guarantee ourselves group stage football, or league stage football I should say, for Europe this season, and that would give us something interesting to look forward to here at Linfield. Otherwise, not too sure if we should hang around for a whole season here, considering we won pretty much everything there was to win in Northern Ireland off the back of last season. What that does set up is a tie for us in the second qualifying round, and to be fair, we take on a team who might actually be a little bit weaker than the one that we did just play in Breidablik. We take on Liga out of Latvia. As you can see, the club overall not quite as good in terms of star ratings there as Breidablik. Overall 2-star reputation, the same as us at Linfield. And coming from Latvia, I'd like to think that is quite a winnable tie for us. A win there would definitely guarantee us some league stage football in Europe this upcoming season, and might even give us the chance to only drop down to a competition like the Europa League if things go well. So it could end up being quite an interesting European season coming up for us if we can get the job done in that second qualifying round of the Champions League against Riga. But I think I'll play that one off camera. We might come back for tomorrow's episode when we do make our way into the final stages of European qualifying to make sure that we do know what competition we are going to end up in Europe this upcoming season, provided that we do get deep enough to end up in one. But that will pretty much do it for today's episode. Was a little bit all over the place with that early job interview there with Preston North End. Unfortunately, did not get that one, but not too disappointed, as we have just won back-to-back games in the Champions League. Before we do wrap things up though, we have made a few more little transfers since before that first leg of Champions League qualifying. And in fact, it was only one new transfer. Thought there might be a few more, but Daniel Davies has joined the club and moved into the reserve team. He is a young Welsh midfielder, 18 years old, young enough that he can become homegrown club and nation in the future, and is formerly of Fulham, 2-star current ability and 5-star potential. Quite a useful player to have at the club already. Has quite good balance and pretty good physical attributes as well. So hopefully those technical and mentals do improve to match up with those, and he should end up being a pretty good player here at Linfield in the future. Whether we see that, though, is a different story entirely. But that will do it for today's episode. As I said, interesting start. Wasn't really too sure where that episode would end up, but we make our way through to the second qualifying round of the Champions League. And as I said, I think we'll come back tomorrow and do the final round of qualifying in Europe for this upcoming season and see exactly where we do end up in Europe, hopefully the league stages of one of those three UEFA competitions. If you did enjoy today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. And until tomorrow for the final round of European qualifying, where hopefully we make our way into the league stage of a UEFA competition here at Linfield for this upcoming season. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.